Bro, you are not ready for this. The U.S. Treasury Secretary just hinted at a national housing emergency. Altcoins are more oversold than they were during COVID or peak bear markets. And to top it all off, we're staring down September rate cuts that could fuel the next wave of crypto ETFs, including XRP. Folks, this isn't just noise. This is the setup for the biggest move we have seen in years. Let me show you how it all connects. Welcome to the Bullwinkle Blueprint, folks. Man, it feels good to be back, fresh off a beautiful, lovely, relaxing vacation. And we are back better than ever, well rested, and we are ready to finish off this year and one of the biggest bull runs we have seen yet. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're coming back for some more of that good info, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. The more thumbs up we get, the more YouTube is going to push out this content. Without further ado, let's jump into it. Look, not too much has changed it's almost the past 12 hours from the morning video to now. It's about 7 p.m. here on the East Coast, down here in beautiful Southwest Florida. Bitcoin 108,000, Ethereum 4,289, and XRP $2.74. You know my take on September. You know where I stand. And October is called Uptober for a reason. Total cryptocurrency market cap 3.77 trillion, coming off of the high around we'll call it about 4.03 trillion. Watch your guru. Here we go. This is where we start, folks. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent says that President Trump might declare a national housing emergency in the coming months. Now think about for a second what that means. Housing is the backbone of the American economy. If the government has to step in because cracks are starting to show, and when cracks show, the Fed doesn't sit still. What do? They cut rates. We already know September is in the focus for cuts. We should find out in the next 2 weeks or so, whether it's 25 or even 50 basis points. It's not just about propping up housing. It's about injecting liquidity into the system. And every single time that happens, risk assets, especially crypto, they go vertical. Let's take a little trip down memory lane. COVID crash, March 2020. Bitcoin dropped under $5,000. Folks, that's 5 years ago. Bitcoin dropped under $5,000. It is now trading above $100,000. What happened? Well, the Fed cut rates. The Fed unleashed liquidity, and 18 months later, Bitcoin was trading at $69,000. How about Ethereum? Well, ETH went from 120 to nearly 5,000. That is what rate cuts do. So if housing gets declared an emergency, September cuts are all but locked in. And when they hit, crypto doesn't just bounce, it ignites. And then you're going to mix into this ETFs. What do ETFs do? They allow the general public to get involved, to start taking a risk without having to jump through all of these different loopholes. I got to set up a 24-word seed phrase, write it down, make sure no one gets to it. I need to open up an exchange account, scan in my ID, submit all this documentation. Retail, the general public is not going to jump through these loops. And we're going to touch on that a little bit more in a second here. And Eric Trump just said, Bitcoin, it's one of the greatest stores of value. Hint, hint, wink, wink. They are making this very public. They are putting out the message over and over again, and people keep looking away when they should really be focused on what is going on and what these people are saying. They're showing you the blueprint, but people are still fighting it for some reason. And I believe the reason they're fighting it is A, they don't understand it, and they don't want to take the time to understand it. They're used to their, 9 to 5 grind, day in and day out, Monday through Friday, try to stock away a little bit of money, retire when they're 65 or 70, if they are even able to. They're used to the blueprint. Now is the time to change that blueprint. Then we get this. Altcoins have never been this oversold. Let me blow this up for you. Let's zoom in on what's happening with these alts, because the setup here, it's absolutely insane. Right now, altcoins are more oversold than they have ever been. Not just during COVID, not just during the peak of the bear market, not even during tariffs and trade war chaos. But here's the kicker. This time, it's not even bearish. This isn't panic selling or capitulation. It's called capital rotation. Money is moving between sectors, between majors and alts, gearing up for the next big cycle rotation. This is the part that most investors miss. They see red candles and what do they assume? Doom. But seasoned players, they know that oversold conditions plus rotation, it equals alt season. And not just any alt season, a major one. When alts get pushed this far down, relative to majors, the snapback is absolutely brutal. I mean, we're talking 3, 5, even 10x moves once liquidity starts flowing again. And trust me, liquidity is going to start flowing again. And if rate cuts hit in September, and I believe they're up to a 90% chance that we're going to see them, that's the spark that's going to flip the switch. So don't confuse oversold with over. This is the kind of setup that launches mega runs. And then Crypto Wizard put this out. XRP has been trading under a 6-year resistance against Bitcoin. Now, I tell you all the time, and even during the live streams that we do every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, XRP to the USD is not the chart to focus on. It's XRP to Bitcoin. I'll blow this up for you. Once we get above that black line, that's the 6-year resistance line. This is on the XRP to BTC chart. That is when XRP makes its move. And then we get this video. American-made crypto ETF coming. Listen to this, and then we're going to talk about XRP rate cuts, ETFs, and the explosion which is incoming.
Into this. The Ripple ETF or XRP ETF approval odds right now on Polymarket hovering at around 86%. So one of its highest points, but it looks like this is going to happen. And what is the likelihood of the timing for this right now?
I would guess that XRP would probably be this year. Either Eric or James from Bloomberg simply said, well, if there's futures at Coinbase, then you probably get an ETF in 2025.
Your statement at that time was $5 billion in the first month. Are you still holding to that? Do you think that's a possibility?
I really am. I would say after Bitcoin, XRP is probably the most well-known on Wall Street and on finance circles. And then ETH is actually probably number 3. So if you think about it that way, I do believe that XRP could potentially outperform ETH just from pure financial services.
So we know ETFs are coming. Let's bring this home, folks, because this is where everything ties together. We got September rate cuts lining up. We got altcoins setting up for a monster reversal. And right in the middle of it all, XRP is on track for a spot ETF, not just one. I believe there's about 18 or so that are just waiting for the SEC starting in October to make their final approval on. But here's why that's a game changer. Rate cuts inject liquidity. That liquidity always flows to risk assets, and crypto is at the top of that chain. But in the last cycle, the average investor, they couldn't easily access XRP. They had to set up wallets, write down seed phrases, figure out exchanges. Most never bothered. This time, totally different. An XRP spot ETF means the average person with a 401k, a brokerage account, they can now buy XRP with one click. That's it, one click. No wallet needed, no keys, no friction, just exposure. Now look back at the last cycle. After COVID rate cuts, Bitcoin, 5K to 69K like we talked about. That was without a spot ETF. Imagine what happens when liquidity floods in and Wall Street has complement ETF products ready to suck up supply. ETFs don't just increase demand, they lock up tokens in custody. Supply comes off the market while demand scales. That's how you get parabolic moves. So what happens when XRP, already oversold relative to its potential, suddenly becomes accessible to every retirement fund, every wealth manager, and every retail investor with a brokerage app? That's when you get the perfect storm. rate cuts for liquidity, ETFs for access, and XRP for utility. So here's the big picture. A potential housing emergency makes September rate cuts almost invertible. Liquidity is coming. Altcoins are more oversold than they've ever been, setting up the kind of mega rotation we've seen in the past, and that we've only seen in the past bull runs, excuse me. And XRP, well, perfectly positioned. Because with a spot ETF on the horizon, it's about to be more accessible than ever, just as liquidity floods in. This is not the end of the cycle. It's the setup. The biggest moves, they're still ahead. And the ones who hold strong through the noise are the ones who's going to capture them. So ask yourself, are you positioned before the world wakes up? I'm going to leave it right there. I'll see all you bright in the morning. Make sure you hit that like and that thumbs up on your way out. And I'll catch all y'all on the next one.